And we have another episode. How y'all feeling today, man? It is a wonderful Sunday. It kind of crazy to even think about that we're in the last week of February. Feels like 2025 is going super fast, but I am kind of happy about that because at the same time, we start getting to events of the off season that are pretty exciting for me and the team, such as the combine, which is coming up later at the end of this week. Super excited to see these guys get out there and show what they can do athletically and get some numbers to these guys film. How you feeling today, Rocco?
Oh man, I'm kind of hurting. We are really rolling in the deep with Mardi Gras out here. My wife, she's in a dance troupe, the Muffaladas, and we've been going parading since probably Friday afternoon. And these routes are about 6 miles, so I've walked about a marathon with her dancing the marathon. So we're pretty wiped out, but we're ready to bring it for the people today. And if you haven't
We're
been to
gonna
Mardi
bring it.
Gras, you got to get out there, man. It's an experience like none other.
I totally forgot that it was Mardi Gras. So when Rocket was like, "Yeah, I was out at the parades," I was like, "Yo, what fucking parades are y'all having at the end of February?" But
Oh,
also, then I saw a friend who was in New Orleans for a business trip, and she had actually mentioned Mardi Gras. And I was like, "Oh, I didn't." So if you don't, I feel like if you don't live in Louisiana or New Orleans or like keep up with like the events around the U.S., you kind of forget that Mardi Gras is. Did you get your beads?
I'm not big on beads because basically they just go in a bag and I got a friend that I give them to. He sends them out to his friends in Canada. Um, you know, uh, but I basically don't keep them. I like to catch shit. That's fun. And I like yesterday they had Jeeps rolling around. They were throwing out rubber duckies that
Mm.
everybody keeps on their dashboard. So I got a few of those. So I got friends that drive Jeeps, and I would give those out. But basically, we don't really keep anything. It's just the fun of it. It's the atmosphere. It's getting drunk with friends. Um, it's at nighttime. Everybody's got it's like a freaking rave out there because everybody catches these little things that light up, and at night, it's a sea of crowd of people with light up shit, and it's a pretty
Mm.
cool light show. But it's just the aura, it's the atmosphere. It's the biggest free party in the world. I mean, like, what can you do these days that's free? Like anywhere you go, it's usually more times than not it's a tourist trap. The stuff we did in the Super Bowl, everything costs a lot of money. This you buy your drinks, or you can just bring your drinks with you. You can bring your lunch with you.
Mm.
You set up a chair and you could be out there all day having fun. And it's fun for all ages. You could bring the kids out there. You could all have fun with adults. So it's
Did
just
they have them? Did they have the boys out there? How was security? I know they weren't playing around with none of that.
oh man, they had so much police, military. They had police from like every parish in Louisiana. They had uh, Department of Homeland Security. They had Army. They had the Coast Guard. They had agencies with three letter acronym agencies that I didn't even know what the hell they were, but yeah, they were out there. But I give them credit. They were kind of in the background. They didn't intrude themselves too much. So it was still fun. They were there, but it felt like it felt very secure. I'll say that.
I like it. I gotta make myself down there for Mardi Gras one of these years. I always hear Mardi Gras in New Orleans around this time. Do actually, since I'm gonna ask you, Rocco, because there's a big, controversy on how to say it. Is it New Orleans or is it New Orleans?
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
New
Okay.
Orleans. New Orleans is how the non-locals say it.
New Orleans. I'm gonna take the I. So I don't sound like a total outsider. I'm gonna make sure I say New Orleans, and when I get myself a beignet.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, for the audience.
Get you a powdered biscuit, man. Pretty good
Oof.
sugar biscuit.
uh For the audience today, we were looking at Keep Trade Cut, and one I think I would like to discuss what that got me kind of or us on this particular topic was one they added the new rookies, the 2025 rookie, their values into the system. So we'll be going over and comparing where they have those ranked compared to vets, and if we agree or disagree with those. And another aspect that popped into my head a while before we started recording was a discussion that I had in the league throughout the week, and it was around keep trade cut. Some people swear by keep trade cut. Some people don't hold keep trade cut very highly as they use other different calculators for whatever it means. Uh, To us, or to me, and I'll let you answer this on your own, Rocco, or how you go about using keep trade cut, or just how you view keep trade cut, because it seems like some people take it too literally and they be like, well, it says this is good value, it's a fair trade, and so we should go ahead with it. Or and then you got the side that's like they don't value what they see on keep trade at all. They don't agree. I believe, and how I look at it is merely a tool. And one thing that I give keep trade cut, I say a lot of respect on is that, because I'm really outside of fantasy football, I'm in tech, and specifically I'm an analyst. So I know there's for us when we're going about figuring out things, you're looking at different how much data that you have, right? That's
Hmm.
one thing that I respect about Keep Trade Cut. They give you the number of data points and how these values are calculated. Like I'm looking right now, it says Keep Trade Cut's Dynasty Fantasy Football rankings are crowdsourced from us. So are the users, we the ones who come up with these data points. The current market value of these players' picks from 19,867,288 data points. I need y'all to know how much or how much data that is. So it's just not like it's like just throwing numbers out of the ass. It's coming from us. These are numbers that they're getting from the end user. And once again, it is a tool. It is not the end all be all, right? It's just you use it to gauge how far or how close you are potentially are in a trade. Now, you can personally have your own values. That is okay. We actually recommend having your own value on players. Some people don't have the time to go out, look at players, judge them, and then rank them so they depend on other ranking systems, whether it's a Dynasty Daddy or is a Dynasty Dad, either or. And then you have Keep Trade Cut with theirs. And I know there's some other calculators and rankings out there that people use. At the end of the day, because there was what really sparked this conversation was it was a trade that happened with Bijan. I believe this was the one I posted on Twitter, and they were like, well, when you put it in Keep Trade Cut, the value said it was fair trade. And then that's why I just had to come in and be like, yes. Because if you add enough pieces to a trade, it'll eventually even out. All right. You can keep adding. You can have Bijan and you can keep adding second rounders to that pick until it eventually evens out. Doesn't mean it's a good trade though. You know what I mean? I think that's where people get sort of lost. But how do you feel about keep trade cut, Rocco, or just calculators in general? We personally like keep trade cut. That's what we go off of. We're not even go off of, but how we go about the initial process of
Mhm.
trades. But how do you feel about keep trade cut?
Um, well, let me say, just a couple years ago, I used to be totally against calculators. I always want to say I know value better than the calculator. But like you said, it's a tool. And what we got to understand about this tool is this is what most of the people in our leagues use. And if you offer a trade that's wildly off from KTC, 99 times out of 100, it's going to be a instant rejection, and they're probably going to talk shit on that rejection. They might even, put that trade offer, on social media, at least in the group chat, and
Mm,
clown that trade offer. When you might have on your own thought it was a good trade offer because we naturally overrate our own players. That's why we have them. So
right.
that helped me from sending out shit offers, you know, consensus shit offers that, people on the other side would think that was a bad offer.
Mm,
And it helped me get a lot more deals done, is what I noticed. So yeah, basically everybody uses this, so it's a great tool to have. And you could look at it the other way too. If you feel that KTC is overvaluing players, you could use that tool in your arsenal as well to
mm,
get rid of overvalued in your eyes players, for more than what you would think that you personally think they're worth. So it can
mm,
help you on the other side of a trade as well. So, like you said, it's a tool and it's a valuable tool because everybody uses it. So, um, if you're using that, you're going with the consensus, and you're on the right track to being able to pull off some trades. And you know what I find is when I send some of those trades, even if
mm.
they're rejected, the other person will say, "Whew, that was close for me. I'm not quite there, but that was a that was a solid trade offer."
I'm saying
And
yes,
they may come
yes.
back to you at a certain point to try to deal with you again because they know you're negotiating in good faith.
I'm telling
Um,
you, I think we seen it across several leagues that we were in together where those, let's say you send to what you thought was a pretty good trade, and what people need to understand is nobody, and I repeat, nobody is going to send you their best offer up front. They're not going to show you their best hand up front. That's counterproductive, right? What gets the good trades done, and when I say good trades done, like I'm talking about things trades that can, you know, change your whole landscape of your team, is the back and forth conversation, right? Sometimes you do get those one and done where you sent the trade and it gets accepted right off the bat. More likely than not, you guys are going to be going back and forth. It's a negotiation. It's a trade. NFL teams do it all the time. All right, unless it's just a deal that you just can't no bypass, or you in your head you're just like, I gotta smash this, right? So when it comes to keep trade cut, you need to use some type of common sense. At the end of the day, we can't. The tool is not going to save you from misvaluing players. What Rocco did point to is, if let's say, like, the other guy was like, oh, I think we're fairly close now. And one of the features that I do like on Keep Trade Cut is it will recommend either it's a pick or a player that is within that value that you can send off. to start to get closer to where a trade can happen. I like Keep Trade Cut. That's my go-to. That, like I said, it's not the end all be all. You should be using Keep Trade Cut with your own with your own type of rankings, with your own type of decision process, and based off of your team. It shouldn't just be straight Keep Trade Cut, right? There's multiple. It's Keep Trade Cut and other factors that should help you make your overall decisions when it comes to trades in general. But before we, go into the weeds of the video, I'll let Rocco, if you had anything to add into there
No,
before we
no.
go.
I'll say that to your point that you said you don't send your best trade offer. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do, and just try to get that thing,
Get
right
that
when
thing done with, yeah.
get it done because I'm in 25 leagues, so I don't always have, especially as my workflow has increased. I don't have time to go with all the back and forth like you're gonna take it or you're not gonna take it. I think what winning some ships this year has kind of taught me is a little more patience, because beforehand I'm trying to like just ram trades through, and now I'm taking more of a setback approach. Like if I see somebody put somebody on the block, I'll get in
Hmm.
that conversation and I'll send my best offer, and I'll see what happens. We'll have a little bit of a negotiation, but basically I'm seeing if they're actually serious about moving the player,
Oh
because a
yeah.
lot of people just put people on the block just whatever. I'm just bored. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna just put this guy on the block, but I don't have serious intentions of making a fair deal. I'm just seeing if somebody will overpay me for that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'll get in those conversations, and if somebody sends me a trade, I'll always either send a counter or just tell them that we're too far off because they send some bullshit.
No.
Um, or what I like to do is if somebody sends me a really bad offer, I'll just won't. I'll say, yeah, let me take a look at that. That's interesting, and then I'll just leave them there for like forever until they ask again, and then I'll
No,
say,
no.
I don't think that's
Mhm.
that's for me.
I think for me, and to your
Because I
point,
know
no.
no, because I know
Mm.
that they're like, oh, I think he might be interested. He might be pulling the trigger, and they just like anticipating me taking it.
Mhm. No,
So
for
it's like
me,
it's kind of like
if
trolling them.
if I show like my interest, right? Let's say, and I totally agree. There's some players where you just can't come in playing with them, right? If let's say if it's a Bijan, let's say if it's a Josh Allen, let's say if it's a Lamar, a CD, Justin Jefferson, Bowers, some of these elite guys.
There's gonna be an
You
active
better
market. Yeah.
you better be coming with your a good offer, a really a good offer for someone, for an example, and depends on how you value the 101. I don't see Jeanty being more than who this person tried to get, but they offered me straight up the 101 for CD Lamb, just the 101 for CD Lamb. First off, I'm a Cowboys fan. That shit ain't
Yeah,
happening
no, yeah.
regardless. But two, the fact that any of let me backtrack a little bit. I don't want to disrespect anybody. Trading CD Lamb just for one. Not, I'm not saying that CD is in the some people might not have CD in that same tier as Jamar Chase, as a Justin Jefferson. I do, but I get it if you don't. At the same time, those guys aren't just going for the 101. Justin Jefferson isn't just going for the 101. I'm not selling CD Lamb just for the 101. Jeanty isn't worth more to me than a CD Lamb, in my opinion. But also, it goes off based off your what your team is, how your team is structured, right? I'm very most of my teams, I am very wide receiver heavy. I am very QB heavy. That's how I like to build my rosters. Having a good QB, having elite wide receivers, and then I'll figure out the running back shit. Honestly,
Hmm.
I'll whether it's draft picks, whether it's mid level guys, I'm cool with that. But for the 101 for CD Lamb, fuck no. Now, if he would have, it was damn near an instant decline, and he probably when he sent that thing out was like, oh, I might have something on my hands. Fuck no, no. For me, you're at least it would have been the 101, and maybe if I were to sell CD another like a 2006 first, then we can start talking, right? Because at the same time, it's hard to first off have young receivers, but then you throw out young and elite receivers. We saw just last year, well, 2 years ago, CeeDee Lamb was literally wide receiver one.
Mhm.
That would be so stupid of me to get rid of him for the 101, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, yeah. And if you're trying to get one of those guys, you better be throwing me, the 101 or a high first plus, another low end wide receiver one. Like, give me like the 101 and I don't know, like Drake London or Lad McConkey or something like that.
See,
Now,
Lab
now we're
McConkey might
cooking.
get me thinking. You got to.
Now we're cooking with gas now.
Those are the type of things. So now, let me share my screen with you real quick, Rocco, and you tell me. We're going to be looking at these QBs real quick, right? We're going to be looking at these QBs on Keep
Can you
Trade
blow that up a
Cut.
little bit?
Yes, sir. Got
There
you.
we go. Okay. Yeah.
There we
Good.
go.
Good. 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 Good.
All right. So I think we can agree with the QB one here, Jaden Daniels at 20. He's 24, tier one. In the last 30 days, he moves past Josh Allen. And if we click
Mhm.
on and just see where he ended up being just from a year ago, he was like QB 13 at the beginning of his rookie year. Now to be QB 1. Whew, what a jump. But I think that's something that we both can agree with that going forward, just dynasty wise. And just to go back at it, you got to remember what do people value very much in dynasty? Youth and production, mainly youth. So I see why, in a sense, Jaden Daniels has moved ahead of guys like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, because they
Mhm.
are closer to 30. The guys behind them, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, 28. Patrick Mahomes about to be 30. So these other guys are, in their upper 20s, while he's in his low to mid 20s. So I mean, I'm not mad at it, and he's only like 4 points ahead of Josh Allen. So I can't hate that. But let's look at some of these rookies, right? If we keep going down, we have Drake May at QB 8. Okay, in Dynasty, can't hate that shit, right? He's 22. We're gonna see that. Caleb Williams is QB 9. CJ Stroud has dropped immensely from his high horse of on that top three QBs in Dynasty to QB 10. But we don't get a rookie till we get Cam Ward, and they have him at QB 19. And he's in the last 30 days, he has dropped 15 spots. Now, what makes me think is one, how the hell did Cam Ward drop 15 spots? That means to me, y'all first off had him too high to begin with.
Mhm.
That's what points out to me. But do you agree where he's at? No, they have Cam Ward ahead of guys like Bryce Young, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Tua Tongaloa, Anthony Richardson, Sam Darnold, things in that nature. Do you agree with Cam Ward being ahead of those guys?
Hell no. Hell no. Give me some of that proven production, because
Mhm.
Cam Ward, if he hits his upside, he could be in that group. But at quarterback, we've seen too many guys bust, and I mean everything we're hearing is that this is a bad quarterback class.
Mhm.
So with that in mind, it feels like the reason why guys like Cam Ward are pushed up is because there's nobody competing, for those top spots. It's just him and Shador, maybe a Jackson Dart, but
Mm-hmm.
no. I mean, give me Jared Goff, give me Dak Prescott, who's
Mm-hmm.
basically elite every other year, and then he duds out every other year for the last few years.
Then you got
Hasn't
your
proven
boy Anthony
production.
Anthony Richardson. Would you like? How do you personally feel about that one? I think that's a real toss up because some people are still have hope for Anthony Richardson, are still high on Anthony
Hmm.
Richardson. He just needs more snaps. He just needs, first off, needs more snaps, the better core around him, receiver wise, tight end wise. Is Shador
He just
Sanders or Cam Ward better than Anthony Richardson to you?
Richardson just needs experience. Hopefully, he can get that in Indianapolis. Some of that yanking him in and out the lineup, and his injuries are concerning as well. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
let's not forget that his injuries are a part of his evaluation because
Mm-hmm.
the best ability is availability. So, um, we need just to see him for 17 full games, and I think magic can happen. But it'd be foolish of me, even as a Anthony Richardson truther, to not acknowledge some of the roadblocks to his development. So I wouldn't be mad at people for putting Cam Ward ahead of him right now, but let's just say if Anthony Richardson gets a full healthy 17 games, I mean, he could be closer to this top group than quarterback. What is he?
Mm-hmm.
20?
I mean, 20 who? We talking about Anthony Richardson?
Yes. Looks
Yes,
like
he's
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 in
about
about
to
that
he's
20
about to be
range.
23. Oh yeah, yeah.
No, I mean his
His range.
ranking.
Oh, QB 25. He's in, as they consider, tier 16 of the QBs. Um,
Yeah, I mean he could
it's a-
easily be a top 10 QB if he plays the full 17 games. But that's the question.
if
Can he can he be perform healthy at 17 games, and can he play 17 games without getting that quick hook is the questions, because he's going to be going into his
mhm.
third year, so it's time to put up or shut up.
One thing is I will note is if we're looking at his age, he's not even 23 yet. The
Hmm.
guys that are around him, Sam Darnold, he's about to be 28. Prescott about to be 32. Jared Goff already over 30. He's going to be 31. Really, if we're only looking at some of these younger guys, like Bryce Young, he's going to be 24. Michael Penix going to be 25. JJ McCarthy hasn't even thrown a snap, which I think is quite is hasn't even thrown a pass in the regular season, and to already be QB 17 ahead of someone like Michael Penix Jr. or Bryce Young is, no, I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm not gonna say the word I want to say. You're not gonna provoke me, but I will say that is stupid as shit. Let me tell you. Now, this ain't even. This is super flex. These even change when you get to just one QB. I know a lot of people don't play one QB. It's a dying breed. I get it. Super flex is the new
I
modern.
know I don't.
It's a new modern shit. So I get it. I understand it. These values, these numbers change quite a bit. You know, when you're looking at some of these guys. When I believe when it's just one QB, because a lot of those leagues I've seen, or one QB leagues that I'm in, are kind of stuck in those old days of having 4 point passing touchdowns and
Hmm.
shit like that. You know, it changes. It makes guys who have more running ability higher value. So I get that point. But as for compared to the bets that we have for quarterbacks and compared to where they had the rookies, I can in a way, in a way see the rankings being what it is. I don't agree with Cam Ward being better than, like you said, I don't agree with Cam Ward being better than Dak Prescott. Some of these guys that have taken their teams to the playoffs have had great regular seasons. And then, even to the extent of Dak Prescott being considered in that about 2 years ago in the MVP type of discussion. Yeah, I can't take Cam Ward over somebody like Dak Prescott. I feel like that's almost damn near disrespectful. But if we're looking at age, I understand why something like that is how they have it based like that. No, on to receivers, and I feel like the controversy that I want to point at is Jamar Chase. I think we all can agree he's wide receiver one. Then we got Justin Jefferson. We can all agree. No, they can. I think even some people 1A, 1B, if you will. It just
I already
depends.
see where you going with this.
Now, Malik Neighbors, I'm trying to keep my bias out of it, Rocco. You know how I feel about
I
my
already
boy
see where
CD.
you going with this.
You know, now he's still Malik Neighbors isn't even 22 yet. So once again, Dynasties is super heavy on age wise. Even so, because CD Lamb is about to be 26 or whatever. Cause we still don't know Malik Neighbors' QB situation. I don't know if Malik Neighbors is better than CD Lamb at this very point. And there's two different complete wide receivers and how they win. So I just want to point that out. But I'm still having CD Lamb over Malik Neighbors. And then we can have a discussion about, Malik Neighbors being ahead of Puka, being ahead of Amon Ross, St. Brown, Brian Thomas, Nico Collins, guys like that. But at this point, there's no way that I can take a Malik Neighbors over a CD Lamb. Malik Neighbors don't even go in the same round as CD Lamb most of the time, as I've seen in startups. So I just want to just toss that out there. Let's put some respect on CD Lamb's name. But what do you have, Rocco?
Um, yeah, I mean, Malik Neighbors is the closest thing that we have to Jamar Chase in the league. So I think they're just a little bit early here. But I mean, Malik Neighbors, he does video game shit, and he did it with
Mm.
Drew Lock at QB and
He did it with
Daniel
us at quarterback.
Jones. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he did all of that with terrible QB play, and I mean, let's be honest, he had more yards than CD Lamb had last year, as a rookie, and I think that's part of the evaluation. He broke out earlier than CD Lamb, in a shit situation, and I think everybody's projecting like QB 17 on KTC Cam Ward being his quarterback, Shador Sanders. Like, if he
Mm.
gets a Shador Sanders, no matter what you think about him, he's going to throw that ball. He's going to put some numbers on Malik Neighbors. So I'm not sure if I would do it at this point, but I see the vision. And he's the only thing in that town to throw to, kind of like CeeDee Lamb. But
Mm.
the fact of the matter is, Dak was hurt, and CeeDee Lamb had a bit of a down year compared to where he was in 2023. So I think it's dealer's choice. I'd probably still have CeeDee Lamb ahead of him, but I think there's a big tier of those receivers. Those super elite receivers. Um, Brian Thomas Jr. I have him pretty close to that area. Um, a lot of these receivers have gone from draft picks to top 10 dynasty wide receivers, you know, as our rankings just a month ago
Mm.
demonstrated that these guys can move up fast. And
Mm.
one of the biggest harbingers or signals that a wide receiver is going to be elite is having that elite rookie year, and
Mm.
um, that's what Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., that's what Lad McConkey did in their first year. So we have to take notice of those elite rookie years, because that is a big time signal that those guys are going to be consistent top 10 dynasty wide receivers year over year. So um, we know what CD Lamb has done in the past, and that's why I would give him a small edge there. But I don't think we're talking about a big edge.
Yeah, I can agree with that one. Well, I counterpoint. I'd love to throw that towards anybody who would be like, all right, let's die down the CD hype. CD Lamb has played 30% of his offensive snaps in his career with a backup quarterback, and he is in the realm or in the conversation of one of the fastest wide receivers to gain over, I think, was it 7,000 receiving yards in their career? Let's see. Oh, he was. I think it might have been 6,000 then. He's one of the fastest, to reach 6,000. And mind you, he's only been in the NFL for 4 years, and he's already had 6,000 receiving yards,
Hmm.
and has played 30% of those snaps with a backup quarterback. Put, I need people to put a little bit of respect on my boy name. No.
I'm not saying he's garbage. I'm just saying that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we're it's thin. It's real thin, the differences, and it could come down to the guy you prefer the most, the guy you enjoy watching play. But
Yeah.
any of us will be blessed to have either of these guys on our dynasty rosters.
100%. And I actually have Malik Neighbors across several of my teams and leagues. I do like Malik Neighbors. I think what we saw from his in his rookie year was absolutely, fun to watch, and curious or excited to see what that year two looks like with a better quarterback. And if we keep looking, keep going down this list of our, wide receiver eights, our wide receiver nines, our wide receiver tens. If you can't tell a theme of these rankings, is look at the age. These
Hmm.
the receivers in the top 15 aren't even over 28. We got 23, 23, 22, 23, 25, 22, 25, 23, 25, 20. I felt like I'm at a goddamn raffle. 25, 35, 45, 45, 35, 45, 45. You know what I'm saying?
So.
That's you are sold to the highest bidder. This is why buying young wide receivers and productive wide receivers costs you so much. It, this is exactly, and if we keep going down, we got like Marvin Harrison Jr. at wide receiver 10. I know some people he's falling off graces or they weren't happy with his rookie year. I still think he had a good year, but we have our wide receiver one of 2025 rookie class, Ted McMillan, coming in at wide receiver 15, and they have him right next to AJ Brown. They have him ahead of guys like T. Higgins, Roma Dunze, Rasheed Rice, Devontae Smith, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers.
Hmm.
Do you agree with this?
um, I'm not all the way in on Tet yet. I'm not there yet, but I think this is kind of a fair spot to kind of wedge him in before we have a landing spot because um, if you look at it, he's after all of the other young stud wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
You got your one older guy at AJ Brown. He's going to be 28 by the time the season starts, so he should be ahead of him. And then you got T Higgins, who has major question marks about his
Yeah.
own health, about where he's going to
Yeah.
play next year. You got
Correct.
Roma Dunze, who out of all of the top wide receivers, he was the most busted one out of all of them. Speaking of busted, you have Rashi Rice, who was amazing, but busted his knee, or his quarterback busted his knee. You got
Yeah.
Devonta Smith, who's great, but behind a true alpha number one wide receiver. You got Xavier Worthy, who could climb up this list based on what he did down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still people that don't 100% believe in him.
Mm-hmm.
You got Jordan Addison, who's also,
Yeah.
similar to Devonta Smith, as a really good number two behind an alpha wide receiver. You got Zay
Hmm.
Flowers, who hasn't quite done it yet. So, um, yeah, I mean, this is probably the spot to airdrop him before we have any testing or any landing spot. There's still several of these guys that I would like ahead of him,
Hmm.
but I don't have a problem with it because I don't think it's too artificially high, and it's not too low either. Um,
I could reread that one. Yeah.
so yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at with it. I don't. I think it's fair. Out of some of the rankings, I think this one is actually somewhat fair.
I like. See, this is what this rookie rank I can with Tet I can get behind, right? Because if we're actually looking at the guys ahead of him, these are wide receiver ones on their respective
Hmm.
team. Jamar Chase, wide receiver one on the Bengals. Justin Jefferson, wide receiver one, obviously. Malik Neighbors, wide receiver one. Puka, wide receiver one. Brian Thomas, the wide receiver one on his team. Nico Collins, wide receiver one. We can even go to the lanes of Marvin Harris. Okay, Marvin Harrison Jr. is wide receiver one. Now, is he receiver when I say receiver, I'm talking about tight ends and wide receivers. Is he, playmaker number one on that offense from last year? No, he wasn't. I think it was Trey McBride was the go-to guy for them. Now, going forward, could we see a shift? It depends on with Kyler Murray
Hmm.
and their connection over the offseason getting that better. But the guys that they have ahead of them, I can see why they have ahead of them because even Jackson Smith Najibba, we saw what his breakout year from last year, and he really
Working
became
hard.
the Yes, he became the Seahawks wide receiver one. Garrett Wilson, no matter how somebody might feel about him, he was the Jets wide receiver one last year, and and then you got AJ Brown, who I still think, and we both think can be, if it wasn't for age, would be in that, and also that style of offense, he would be in that consideration for a top five, top six when we're talking about talent for receivers. So I can agree with McMillan being there, and it's kind of crazy because we're looking at it, and it also tells you how the strength of this 2025 class is not really good.
Hmm.
What other rookie wide receiver are you seeing even come close in these? The next one is Luther Burden, and they have guys like Jameson Williams ahead, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, just to name a few. I, me personally, I think I would take Luther Burden just off of talent. I would take him off. I would take him ahead of Jameson Williams. I like Luther Burden more than I like Jalen Waddle. But that one tweet I did with Chris, would you take Chris Godwin or Jalen Waddle? I found out that Jalen Waddle still very much has a great supportive system in the fantasy community.
Hmm.
They're not letting that boy die out no time
I'm
soon.
not. I'm
So
not letting him die out that soon.
So I can sort of see where somebody is going with that. And then you got our guy Amika Ikbuka in front of Terry McLaurin, George Pickens, Brandon Ayuk, Jaden Reed, guys like that. I feel like it all is these particular guys will depend very much on where they land, right? But what do
Hmm.
you think? I know we
I
both were
have
like, look,
I have a Buka closer to my wide receiver one than way down here, so I would probably have him up a little bit.
mm,
But we just got to remember this is where the community sees these guys,
yeah,
so that's why some of it seems fair.
yeah.
And like we said, if we don't agree with it, we can use that as ammo to trade some of these guys. Um, but I don't have any of these. Well, I have a couple of these guys in my Devi leagues, but I refuse to draft any of these guys before they have a landing spot. Unless it's a Devi league, like I said.
Yeah.
So I would probably eke a Mecca just a little bit higher,
Mm.
and I'd probably have Waddle just a little higher because I don't know how Olave's still over Waddle because Olave has serious brain problems,
Mhm.
related to catching the ball from Derek Carr. So, yeah, I would probably have Ibuka maybe a few spots higher,
Mhm.
maybe in that DJ Moore and Waddle range. And personally, I would move Flowers and Olave down just a little bit.
Oh, I can agree with that one. Now, the main topic, what kind of sparked this KTC keep trade cut discussion, was this bullshit. This let's I'm gonna we gotta hop on this one, okay? Because obviously Jamar Gibbs is going to be. I think it's really back and forth whether you have Bijan as your RB1 or you have Jamar Gibbs as your RB1. Comes basically comes down to what flavor of ice cream do you like. I think those guys can be interchangeable. Having Ashton Jeanty ahead of Saquon Barkley, ahead of Devon A. Chain, Brees Hall, Bucky Irving. I think Kyrie Williams is overrated, so I can't really speak above him. But I don't think I would put, without even playing a down yet or even knowing where he's going to land, I wouldn't have Ashton Jeanty ahead of Saquon. I think you can start to have that discussion where if we're talking about uh, guys who won't get a lot of carries, like I don't think like Devin A Chain, how they use him as a home run threat. They use him as a receiver. So in my head, to be able to beat Ashton Jeanty, you would one have to score more touchdowns than him, which A Chain is good at doing, and you would have to theoretically catch near or more balls than he does in a season. I don't think Ashton Jeanty sucks as a receiver whatsoever. I think he's actually a pretty good receiver out of the backfield. I don't think he did he's Devin A Chain out of the
Hmm.
backfield. So for him to have more value than a David A Chain, and maybe they're considering one, David is banged up a lot, or I won't say a lot, but he does get banged up. I could get behind the Brees Hall discussion because I'm not that big on Brees Hall. Just I don't have a single share of Brees Hall for that exact reason, so I could potentially see that. Bucky Irving has damn near moved had one of the craziest jumps that we probably seen for any running back from a guy that we were able to get in the third or fourth round to being RB7. But he lost his offensive coordinator to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do we think like we got to see how that plays out for his overall role and season? But what do you think about Ashton Jeanty being RB3?
Um, I think what this is is I think Gibbs and Bijan are firmly entrenched in the 1 and 2 and have been for a while now.
Yup.
Um, like you said, it's your flavor. Whether you like, the traditional size speed type guys like Bijan, or you just love the explosive, can score at any moment home run threat of a Jameer Gibbs. But I think the Genti over Saquon is just kind of a traditional thought process that guys with that kind of workload tend to break down. And we're talking about a guy that had 378 touches,
Yeah. They ran him.
345 carries last year.
Hmm.
340. That's just the regular season. That's not even counting, the playoffs. So when you think about it in that sense, I know a lot of people are trying to get out on Saquon. I know I have got out on Saquon in a couple places because that type of touch, those type of touches are just not sustainable over the long term for most guys. And we're talking about a guy that's had injury problems in the past. So I think that ranking is just people a little bit nervous about that touch count last year. So in that sense, I can see it, but it may be a little early for me. And as far as some of the other guys, a lot of the running back as a whole in the league scare me. Like I said, this can be a transformative class because in the last few years, you got these small running backs who are kind of taking over. The top of the list being Jameer Gibbs, but also Devin A. Chain, Bucky
Mm-hmm.
Irving, Kyron Williams is not a huge guy, James Cook.
Okay.
And what you have coming into this class are more traditional size speed specimens.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely, this can be a transformative class because these are the type of running backs in this class that we grew up with. 220 pounds,
Yeah, them
five
guys.
foot 10 to 6 foot, fast, just specimens that in a traditional sense that we come to think of as running backs, not these little
Mm-hmm.
small jitterbug guys. So um, I'm not terribly upset with Jeanty because I find that most of the running backs that are highly drafted usually pan out for the most part. I mean, there's a
Mm-hmm.
few that have busted out, like a Trent Richardson, but even he had, I think he had 1,000 yards as a rookie. I think he just got lazy and when he got traded early on in his career. But most of these guys hit Saquon Barkley, um, Jameer Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, these highly drafted guys, for the most part hit. Ezekiel Elliott, all of these guys
Mm-hmm.
hit as first rounders, which Ashton Jeanty is going to be a high first rounder. So, um, I thought I would be more against it, but I can see the vision for it. I can see the thought process,
Mm-hmm.
and it may be a selling opportunity. I already got some Ashton Jeanty and Debbie leagues, so I probably should be sending out offers to see what kind of haul I can get back for him because this is absolutely where the community has these guys, and I can't really fault the thought process to it.
Yeah, people gonna really like they've been trying to get that one on one quite hard this off season. Some people have very much fell in love with Ashton Genty. Some might even have him in that Adrian Peterson type of caliber running back of coming into the NFL. Is he not the size of Adrian Peterson? No, I'm not saying he's a small guy either. 5'9" and 216 pounds is nothing afraid over whatsoever. So he is built. But when then we look at guys like Omarion Hampton, they have him, and then we got even Travion Henderson, and then we got Quishon Judkins. They're near Kenneth Walker, who we think is banged up. Is well, don't think he is banged up quite a bit. We have Josh Jacobs, who was in that top six, I think, top 6 or 7 ranked RBs of 2024. I'm not big on Chase Brown. I'm sorry, wherever I'm not a big guy. CMC still being RB in the top 20 of RBs is I think okay, but if we're looking at tiers, right? They have Amari and Hampton in his own tier per se, and then they got Kenneth Walker, Josh Jacobs, and Travion Henderson in the same tier. Then you got this tier of 14 here of guys of Chuba, Derrick Henry, Quinshawn Judkins, CMC, and Chase Brown. I'm taking Quinshawn Judkins ahead of Chase Brown every time. It depends on what my team is. If I'm a rebuilding team, then yes, I'll probably take Quinshawn Judkins ahead of Derrick Henry, who's going to go. I believe he's already 31, but I think he'll be 31 throughout the whole 2025 season. But nevertheless, he just had over 300 plus carries. He is a cyborg, but I don't feel really good on betting on that. And then you got my boy Caleb Johnson. I'm taking Caleb Johnson damn near every time ahead of Chuba, and I love me some Chuba, but Caleb Johnson, Quishon Judkins, I'll have ahead of guys like Christian McCaffrey. Now, if I'm contending, I think that's a different story, and we still got to see where these guys land up. But at the same, 'cause I still think CMC can be a top running back if he's healthy. Let me throw in the asterisks on that, or quotations. If he's healthy, CMC can still be a good running back,
Hmm.
top 10 running back, if you will. Uh, but what do you think with, and before we are looking at the time, we're coming towards the end of the episode. So we're going to leave the episode on this high note of the RBs. But what do you feel? How you feel about? I don't know. Actually, I know how you feel about Quishon Judkins compared to where they have him on this list and the names around him. How would you feel
Um,
like that stack
I,
goes?
I'm gonna push back just a hair on the if I'm contending because
Let's do
the
it.
elite running backs, they might start off slow, but by the end of their rookie year, they're helping teams of all shapes and sizes. They're
Mm-hmm.
that's when these rookie running backs usually break out all over the place when they take control of that backfield in the second half of the season, and plenty of a rookie running back has won ships. Just look at Bucky Irving last year, who helped me
Yeah.
win one ship. But yeah, I think that I would probably. Can you go up just a hair? I probably would have. I would definitely have Walker over Hampton. He's one of the few young backs that are that size speed specimen. He's battled the groin injuries, but if you look at it, people are worried about Charbonnet, but I think he's just a guy. And every time that Walker's healthy, Charbonnet gets no touches. So
I'm tired of
Charbonnet
that
is
damn
just
discussion.
he's insurance policy because you would think with all the times that Kenneth Walker has been hurt, Sharps would just take over the job, but he hasn't done it. And when Kenneth Walker is healthy, he gets 70-75% of the touches. So Sharps is just a guy. He's nothing special. So I
Hmm.
would definitely have Walker over Hampton. Um, and I'd probably Chase Brown just
Mm,
came kind of came out of nowhere. I would probably group like all of these rookies right around right after Kenneth Walker, but any of these guys can move up. Um, but the dangerous thing about these rookie running backs is we have no idea where they're landing. Wide receivers can be kind of independent because if you're a good receiver, you earn targets. But if Amarian Hampton lands in Baltimore, he's not taking over that backfield anytime
mm.
soon, barring injury. If a
Yeah.
Quinshon Judkins goes
To Dallas,
somewhere
hell.
somewhere with an established running back, he can be he can be sidelined for a little while. So for me, running back, I'm gonna wait just a little bit longer. I'm kind of put an embargo on dealing with running backs. I'll deal them out, but I'm not necessarily trying to trade for any of them to come in because I just don't trust what's going to happen with this class. A lot of guys are going to get nerfed, and a lot of the rookie running backs that we like are going to land in backfields that it's not clear when they're going to get, a full share opportunity. So um, right now, with running backs, it's mostly stay away from me. I
I
mean,
agree
until you
with
can
you.
find some value, but um, I'm more of the value of trading them away and stacking picks because before this NFL draft happens, before the combine happens, it's we're really dangerous to acquiring guys that are gonna get totally nuked to oblivion.
Hmm. And that is our show for today. Really good one, actually. A lot of good discussion, a lot of back and forth, and just seeing where we like these rookies compared to the other vets that are already in the league. We went a little bit over KTC and how, or Keep Trade Cut, and how we view it, and how you can gauge it to be better at trades or just to one understand when someone sends a trade to you and how far it off it is. Now, it has come to the end of the show. It's always been a pleasure. I'm always Honcho, and this is my guy, Rocco, the best in the land. We have another episode. This shall be dropping tomorrow. We'll be recording another episode during the week. Probably, I think the combine kicks off Thursday. So I think we'll talk a little bit on the combine and what we expect of some guys and what we're hoping some of these guys test like. But Rocco, as always, thank you for being on my G. It's just it's the discussions that we have on here is whether it's us, and that's one thing that we've kind of talked about more of, or just seen from other podcasts. We don't look to always agree on certain things. Like I have my way of thinking, and Rocco has his way of thinking, and a lot of times we do come together. We think the same shit. We on the same wavelength. Shit, we both, in a sense, hate Chris Olave in a way. So it's love it all. So no, we our whole demeanor isn't just to be like, oh yeah, with this we have this one way of thinking and this is how you win your league. There's multiple ways to win. There's multiple ways to build your team, but there is really good ways of how we go about our decision processes that gives us the results that we're looking for. So
We're just trying to win ships.
we're just trying to win chips and have fun while doing it. But hope everybody has a great rest of their Sunday, great rest of their weekend. Take care of yourself. If you're out there in New Orleans for Mardi Gras, be safe.
Oh
Rocco,
yeah,
be good, my G.
I'll be out there.
Till next time.